what you're going to need for this is some fleece, some furry fleece, some stuffing, 3 different size balls, 3 different sticks, some Dollar Tree shoes, a little pom-pom, some hair noodles, some craft foam, some eyes and a nose, some weights, and some string. Okay, first of all, we're going to take our biggest ball, which is the base, and we are going to cut about 3/4 of an inch off the bottom of it so that it will stay flat on the bottom. Then we're going to turn it to the front top part of it, and we're going to cut off about just a little bit so we can attach the top part to it, which is the head. Go ahead and trim a little bit off the head, and that's where we're going to attach those two together. Then we're going to take our smaller ball and we're going to cut it in half, and that's going to be our nose. And then we're going to take the top ball, which is the head, and we're going to trim it flat so we can put those two pieces together flush. So just put them up there, figure out how much you need to trim off so that they will be flush. Like that. Then we're going to go ahead and attach them. We're going to take a stick, sharpen it, and we're going to stick it through the head, and then we're going to pull it out and we're going to stick it through the base, right in the center. And then we're just going to trim off about an inch off from the base and attach the head to it. Then we're going to go ahead, just twist it around there until you get it even to where you want it, and then go ahead and glue it down. Then we're going to take our nose part and we are just going to glue that right to the face part. Then we're going to make our body, and you want to take your fleece and make sure the opening is on the stretchy side so that you can pull that over those balls. We're going to go ahead and glue up the 13-inch side, and then we're going to go ahead and do our shoes. We're going to take our weights, and these are the Pinewood Derby weights. Just cut them into little pieces, and we're going to stick them into the toe of the shoe. You don't need a lot of weight because his legs are going to stick out and hold him in place, but you don't want him tipping back. Just get as many of those in there as you can, and then we're going to just tape that up so that it doesn't come out. You don't have to glue those in, just tape it up. And then we're taking a 5.5-inch by 5.5-inch piece of the same fleece, and make sure there's 2 sides of your fleece. Make sure that your 2 sides match. So the part that is going to be on the shoe matches the part that's going to be on the body. We're just going to put our shoe right in the middle, pull all those up, hold them between your fingers, and then just cut it off flush with where your top of your fingers are. Then we're going to go ahead and open it up, and we're going to go ahead and trim a little bit of excess off, and we're going to go ahead and start gluing it in. You just want to make sure you have enough so that it all goes in there and it glues all the way in, because we're going to just tuck that completely down into there. Just keep pulling it up on the sides and it'll be pretty smooth. Just keep pulling it up until you get it all completely tucked into that shoe. And then we're going to set those aside and do the legs. We're going to cut our legs. I'm using a 0.63-inch pool noodle, and a hair noodle, and then I'm cutting it to 2.5 inches in length. I took my sticks, sharpened them, and I'm just running it through there. You just need enough just so you can poke that into the bear's body. And then I'm going to go ahead and open up my shoe a little bit, add a little bit more glue right at the front, and then tuck that in. Just make sure that you pull that on up around there so it's pretty snug. And then go ahead and put a little bit of glue in the middle after you get it all put in there. And then we're just going to go ahead and stick that noodle right down into there. This is going to be a pretty tight fit, so don't worry about adding too much glue. I'm going to put a little bit of glue around the edges, and then you're going to do the exact same thing for the other shoe. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our body. We are going to sew up a casing along the bottom, just 1/4-inch stitches all the way around, and then we are going to draw that up. And then, like I said earlier on the opening, make sure that you did cut the opening area on the stretchy side, because it'll make it a lot easier to stretch around those styrofoam balls. Once you get that all pulled together, go ahead and draw it up, tie it off, and then cut off the string. Then we're going to turn it right side out. And we are going to go ahead and put our styrofoam ball with the base side first. Slide that all the way down to the bottom. And then we're going to pull it up pretty snug. So make sure that the circle part on the bottom part is in the center, and pull that up real snug. Then we're going to go ahead and tie a string around the between the 2 balls, and tie that off. And don't worry about it not getting tightened up right there, because now we're going to go ahead and start pulling it up and it'll start tightening up. Then we're going to take a rubber band. We're going to pull our fabric as tight as we can get it, and we're going to pull it towards the back part of his head. And that will be covered up by his hat. So make sure you pull his face real snug so it's smooth. And then tie that off with a rubber band. And then we're going to come back in with a string and tie all that off. And then you can save the excess fabric at the top. Go ahead and cut it off about a ½ inch, and you can use that for either the arms or the legs. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and do his legs. We are going to take a 2½, a 5½ inch piece of fabric. We are going to glue up one side of the short side and one side of the long side. And the easiest way to do this is just to go ahead and wrap it around with the unfinished edge. Go ahead and wrap it all the way around and then just glue it off. We're not going to glue it to the leg yet. That way we can turn it to where the seam is in the back. So once you get that glued, go ahead and turn that seam to where it's in the back. And then we can start gluing it to the shoe. Just put a little bit of glue around the top and kind of push it on down there. Kind of make them one. And then we're going to go ahead and attach some glue to the inside part of the top. And we are going to push that down to the noodle so that that stick sticks out. So go ahead and gather it up with your fingers, but push it down towards that noodle. We just want to get that all glued in good so it's flush, so that when we attach it to the body, you don't see any of it. And then you're going to do the same thing for the other leg. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and attach it. We're just going to stick it straight into our styrofoam. So figure out exactly where you want them. I kind of space my legs apart a little bit. And then do exactly the same thing for the other leg. And then we're going to go ahead and pull them back out, and we are going to glue them in. So glue around in the hole and glue around the top edge of the leg, and then hold those in until they're dry. And do that to both of them. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and we're going to do his arms. We're going to cut the arms at 3 inches each. And then we're going to go ahead and take our wire out. We are going to cut our noodle off. So we have 2 equal 3-inch pieces. We are going to stick the wire back inside of them. And glue that edge down to it. We want to make sure we put our wire back in it because we're going to need it to attach it to the bear. And then we're going to cut straight down the middle, and that's the part that's going to attach it to the bear. Then we're going to take our fabric and we are going to glue up 3 sides, so 2 short sides and 1 long side. And then we're going to place our noodle right in the middle so there's equal amount on both sides left over on the fabric. We are going to take it and roll it all up onto the unfinished side to the finished side. Then we're just going to put a little bit of glue in the top and just kind of squeeze all that together to make like a rounded edge on the paw. And we're going to do the same thing for the opposite side. Just glue it straight there, smooth. Okay, then we're going to bend that wire over, and that's how we're going to attach it to our body. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other arm. Okay, so we're going to come back down probably about a ½ inch from the top. Go ahead and make sure that that edge is really glued in there good, because you don't want to see that. And that's the part that's going to be towards his body. And we're just going to stick that in probably about a ½ inch down on the side. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other one. So once you get them exactly where you want them, then we're going to glue them in. Just take them back out, glue into the hole, glue around the fabric by the wire, and then just glue those in. And do the same thing for the opposite side. Okay, next we're going to make his ear. We are just going to glue around the circular part and attach the other one to it. Just make sure that your furs match the bear's fur. So when you turn that right side out, it's going to be the same as what the bear fur has. Get those glued in there really good. Then we're going to turn them right side out. Just take your pliers and pull it around there. Open it up. And then we are just going to tuck the edges of the bottom in. And we are going to glue those to a stick. So we're going to take the stick, glue it inside of there after we sharpen it. Going to cut our stick to about 1.5 inches. And then glue the blunt side into there. So the sharp side we can poke it into the bear's head. Just squeeze it around that stick. And we're only going to put one ear in because the other side is going to be covered by the hat and you're not going to see it. So just at an angle on the side of his head, figure out exactly where you want it, and then we're just going to glue that in. Okay, now come down to the very tip of his nose. Just come down where his nose is, and we're going to take an X-Acto, poke a hole in it, and we're going to attach his nose. So the very top point of his nose is where we're going to put his the little nose. Just push that on in there. And then we're going to go ahead and attach his eyes. And you can put his eyes wherever you want to. I just kind of put them like right there. And we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to take the X-Acto knife. Just push that in there so you can make a mark on it. And then mark it, and then cut it with the X-Acto knife. And then go ahead and push that on in. And then we'll glue his eyes in here a little bit. We'll just put a little dot of glue in the back of them. I didn't put any glue behind his nose because I really had a hard time pulling it back out, so I just left it. Then we're just going to put a little bit of glue behind them. Then we're going to go ahead and take the craft foam. It's probably about 1/8 inch wide strip. That the part coming down from his nose is about 3/8 inch. And then his mouth was about 1 inch. And I'm just going to glue that on. Just put a little bit of glue because you don't want to see it. Just right below his nose. And then attach his mouth. And give him a little smile. Okay, then I'm taking a 2" by 18" piece of fleece, and I'm just folding the 18" up to the middle. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other side and glue it towards the middle. We're not overlapping, we're just pulling them to the middle. And then we're just going to put that around his neck and tie that on. Okay, then we're going to put it aside, and we're going to take an 11 by 13" piece of fabric, and we're going to fold it on the 13" side. We're going to come up 2 inches from the bottom, and we are just going to start angling towards the point. Then we're going to open it up, and we are just going to glue that down. Okay, then we're going to turn it up 1 inch cuff before we turn it right side out. This is going to be on the inside still. And then we're just going to glue it in. You don't have to put a lot of glue, just get it to where it's just glued in, so when we turn it right side out, it's not hanging out. Okay, then we're going to take our pliers, and we are just going to turn that right side out. And then we are going to make our trim for it. It's a 2" by 12.5" piece. And again, we're just going to glue it to the center on the 12" side. And the same thing on the other side. We're not overlapping them. We're just gluing them to where they meet in the middle. Then we're going to fold it over 1/2 inch on just one side. And that'll be our finished side. And we're going to start in the back on our unfinished side and start going around our hat. Now I kind of stretched mine as I went so that it was nice and snug. Just kind of figure out where you need to be on the back of the seam where they meet. But I am stretching mine as I go because it does make it for a nice tight hat when it gets done. And then just glue it off in the back. Okay, then I'm just putting a little wad of stuffing in it, very little wad of stuffing, just to give it a little bit of height on top of his head. And then go ahead and put it on his head, just over the, kind of right over the very top of the eye on the left, and then just start gluing it in. So you're going to cover up his eye just a little bit. And then just get that glued in all the way around so that none of that stuffing comes out. Then we're going to take a pom-pom and we're going to attach it to the end of his hat. And then we are going to glue his scarf down. We're just going to put a little bit of glue up underneath the top part, pull it down, and then we are going to overlap them at the bottom. And then I'm going to go ahead and let a little bit of glue right next to his hat and glue his hat down. That's it. Pretty easy. Okay guys, there he is. Cute little bear. Christmas bear. If you like the video, hit like. If you want to see future videos, hit subscribe. And if you want to be notified when I have another video, hit the bell. Thanks so much for watching.